Greetings, friends. Welcome to Venezia, which is a small village outside of Varaždin, the former capital of Croatia, which is where my girlfriend's parents live. So we're here at this summer house. So I'm here alone today. My girlfriend is in town, getting her hair done. It's gonna be a while. We got some time to make a video today. A friend of mine is going through a bad breakup, and it's got me thinking about love. So today we're going to talk about love. Long time ago, in the antediluvian days, back in the before time, I worked in Hollywood at one of, I think, the last golden ages of film. It was in the late 90s when you had your Fight Club and you had your Being John Malkovich, and you had your Sixth Sense. You had a lot of really great movies back then, but that's not the point. The point is this. I read every screenplay that was out there. I had a friend. He was like a copy machine troll that lived in the bowels of the MGM complex. And I would go down there and he would say, "Oh man, you gotta see this new script I have. Check it out." Because he got everything down there. Every script that was in production, every great, amazing script that no one would make because it was too daring, all that stuff, this man had in his hands. So one day he goes, "Oh, I got Cameron Crowe's new script. It's called Jerry Maguire." So I sat down and I read it. And I loved it. It was good romantic comedy. But I remember coming to the end of that screenplay and that long monologue that Tom Cruise gives, right? And how does that monologue end? When he's pouring out his love for Renee Zellweger, who's just kind of standing there absorbing his love. Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Because that's the paradigm, right? The guy explodes with this emotion, this net of emotional love that he's supposed to capture the woman with. So Tom Cruise is unfurling his net of emotional love to catch Renee Zellweger. And he caps this monologue off with the classic phrase, what is it? "You complete me." So this is how our highly secular culture, with its religion of personal love, thinks about relationships. You need a partner to be complete. You're taught to believe that if you don't have somebody, you're missing something. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm reading Colleen Hoover right now. It Ends With Us. I like romantic love as much as the next guy or gal. But the problem that I have with the way that our culture teaches us how to love is that it puts a ton of responsibility on our partners to make us happy. And because of this, when you're in a relationship and you're not happy, it becomes really easy to project all of the things you don't like about your life onto your poor partner. Partners are not supposed to complete us. That's not their job. So one of the great things about being a Zen Buddhist monk is that anything that you do at the monastery can be your Zen practice. It's an opportunity for you to find a way to let go, to dissolve your ego. Well, when I was a monk, I got into a relationship with a fellow nun, and that relationship became a very big practice opportunity, believe you me. So not only did this nun not complete me, she made my life, or so I thought at the time, she made it a living hell. Actually, I remember the moment that I knew this wasn't gonna work. And we were at our sister Zen center, and we were making love, right? And I'm gonna get graphic now. She was on top of me, and we were in coitus and arguing at the same time. We were just so used to being in conflict with each other that no matter the context, even if it was the act of physical love, we were going to fight. And I remember in that moment feeling how unhappy she was, feeling how she was hurting as we were arguing. And I remember thinking, there's no amount of pleasure that is worth the pain that this relationship is putting us through. And I decided then and there I was never going to be with her physically again, that this was the end of the relationship. And it was sort of the end of the relationship. We never did hook up again, but we had a joint responsibility as nun and monk. And so we had to stay together in essence and work really closely together for like another, good God, it was like 3 years. So you need to think about this for a second. Like imagine you've got an ex, right? And you finally decide it's over. It ain't over. You gotta live with them now, like in the same house, under the same roof, and you've gotta take care of a dying old man together. That was our mutual responsibility. We had to take care of my teacher. So I learned something through this experience. One thing I learned was that you cannot change people. You cannot change them no matter how right your vision for who they should be and how they should behave is. You just can't change people. And more to the point, they have a right to be who they are, to make all the mistakes they're making in your eyes, and to live their life and to move along their path through life as they are. Like they have every right to. And if you hold on to your idea that that person owes you something because they're your partner or your spouse, or just because you're close to them or you're intimate with them, or because you've subconsciously or consciously bought into the idea that this person can complete you, like if you feel like they owe you something in any way, shape, or form, you're gonna run into conflict in the relationship. And she and I ran into conflict over and over and over because we had these opposing points of view, opposing personalities. Everything about us was opposite. And yet we were thrown together with this responsibility of taking care of my teacher. And as he got older, and as our community began to experience some like real trials, and her point of view came in conflict against my point of view about how to move our community forward through these trials, and there were like real stakes, things got incredibly intense. And she would be screaming at me and crying, and I would be filled with almost a cartoonish level of rage and upsetness, and her too, so that we became almost a parody of like the unhappy couple. It wasn't War of the Roses, it was like nuclear apocalypse of the roses in that tiny little apartment where she and I had to take care of our teacher together. It was interesting the effect that this dynamic over a really prolonged period of time had on me. I can't speak for her. Maybe she'll do so in the comments section. I doubt it. I don't think she watches this channel. But anyways, by the way, I hold no bad feelings toward her now. It's interesting. But the effect that this intense, difficult relationship had over time on me was that it just completely wore me down. I mean, it really was the ultimate practice opportunity. It just, I guess I had, and probably still have, something in me that's really, really deeply stubborn and antisocial and selfish. And I know that little demon was with me in every relationship that I was ever in my life. But this practice opportunity made it such that I was trapped in a room alone with this woman for years, really, as we took care of our teacher. And I had to face this part of myself. Now, if I had been like in a normal situation, like where this was a girlfriend out in the real world, we would have broken up and I would have gone on to the next relationship and I would have brought that little demon right with me and I would have replayed it in an entirely new setting, because that's what we do. We get a new face in a new apartment with a new life and we make the same old mistakes. But I was fortunate that I couldn't do that. And finally, I just realized at one point, I can't win this argument with her. I'll never win this argument with her, my ex-girlfriend. And I was just utterly beaten, destroyed, was like scorched earth. There was like nothing left by the time I was finally able to just get out of that situation and actually leave the monastery. Many ways, it was kind of like she was the reason in many ways. I actually wound up leaving my whole life as a monk. It was that intense. And when you suffer that deeply in a relationship, like, you really start asking yourself questions, and it's like, how did I get in that? Because you don't get in a relationship like that and stay in a relationship like that and be in a relationship like that is that unhappy, that intensely unhappy for that long a period of time without something being a little bit wrong with you. And I got to look at what that something was. And that something was expectations. Expectations for how people should be and how they should live and how they should treat me when we're in a relationship and we're close together and we're working together. And ultimately how it's their job to complete me in a certain way. That's my expectation. But she not only didn't completely, she destroyed me and basically kicked my ass out of the monastery. I took a prolonged absence from the dating world, and my sex life was put on pause for a really long time after that relationship. I was just stunned. I was sort of shocked into celibacy after that relationship. And then one day, I was packing my bags to go to a Buddhist conference somewhere. And I caught myself talking to myself. And I remember thinking, as a Zen monk, you don't get trapped in your head. That's how you produce suffering in yourself and how you enact suffering in the world. You do what you're doing instead of thinking and getting lost in fantasy. It's like central to Zen practice. So my job then was just to pick up my socks and put them in my suitcase. And so I did that in my room as I was alone. And I made myself do my practice, which is being in the moment, packing my bags instead of thinking in my head. And then a little voice, you could call it, or an insight arose inside me. And it said, yes, you can sit here and pack your bags in the Zen way. But I want a person to talk to and share my life with, be intimate with. I would like a partner. And what does that mean, having a partner? I think it means someone I can share with, share things with, share my love with, but not expect anything from. It's getting hot in here. After that previous relationship, I never thought about being in another relationship with anyone. And all my expectations were really gone. And when my girlfriend now, we've been together for almost 6 years now, when she showed up, it just felt to me like a gift. I mean, I was 44. I was past the age where anybody in my personal life, my family life, my professional life, or society itself, I was past the age where anybody thought I was going to ever be in a functional relationship, right? So all that pressure was off of me, right? I mean, and it was just a gift that I had this person that I could be with, that, you know, like that moment when I was packing my socks in my suitcase to take that trip to the Buddhist conference, instead of just packing my socks alone in the Zen way, now I had someone I could pack my socks with and talk to and share with. And every relationship is, I think, a practice opportunity. But it's not the person's job to fulfill us. That's our job. The person just gives the gift of their presence, of their life, of their love. They give that to you, and you have the opportunity to give yourself back to them, to give your life, to give your love, to merge your households, to merge your bodies, right? But ultimately, I feel like I'm alone, and my life and my practice and my soul, if you will, my mind, my bank account, my health, these are all my responsibility. And having been in bad relationships, and having been in a really difficult, challenging relationship like I was in with that nun, and having to stay in that bad relationship and keep giving myself to her because we had to work together, so I had to surrender my ego over and over and over, and it was so difficult, right? Having gone through all of that, now when I'm with my girlfriend and I can experience a harmony with her, and I can surrender my ego because I love her and we actually get along, the whole relationship, it has a wonderful life of its own. And what I give to it, it gives back to me, but I don't have that expectation. Really, I don't. Like, that horrible relationship scorched the earth of every last expectation I ever had that a romantic partner could ever complete me. And now, whatever I get back from my Tony is a gift. Now, if you'll excuse me, my girlfriend is coming back from the hairdresser and we're gonna go take a hike. If you liked this video, please hit subscribe and the notifications button as well as the like button. I'm trying to build this channel up. YouTube doesn't seem to want to help me in that process, but you can by tricking the algorithms into pushing me into people's view streams with likes and subscribes. Also, I offer these videos for free, but doing this channel is increasingly becoming how I make a living and pay my bills. And the way I do that is I've got a link, 2 links in the video description right below. So you can see right here, I'm pointing to Patreon. That's where I've got essays, videos, blog posts, and a community of really interesting people there. and you can support this channel there, or you can just make a PayPal donation through PayPal. This fire's frying my brain, dehydrating me. It's time for me to go take a hike. I'll see you next week. That's gonna be a mess to edit.